Hey, what's going on, y'all? I'm back. Now, I've been in the market for a new scale for a few months now, but I held off on pulling the trigger. I've been doing some research. I almost bought the Hume HomePod scale, and then I started doing some research on it. I actually had it in my cart at checkout, and I said, you know what? Let me do some more research on it. And across this website, I forget, I think it's called MedPage, and they do comparisons. And they didn't rate the Hume scale very high. They said it struggled a lot with the body composition for women and athletic or lean individuals. And that was kind of like what I had been running into with my current scale, which is a Eufy P3 Smart Scale. I've had that for about 2 years now. Actually, almost exactly 2 years now. And I got that one when I had my last DEXA scan. I had my last DEXA scan in July of 2024. And prior to that, I had a Withings scale, and Withings was really good. It's a really good scale. And but I noticed that the body composition was really lacking. So I bought the Eufy P3 Smart Scale, and I did a comparison between the Withings, the Eufy P3, and the DEXA scan, and the Eufy was pretty much right on with my DEXA scan, probably half a percent or so on the fat, and the weight was exactly there. But the Withings was way off, so I tossed that in the trash, and I've been using the Eufy pretty much going forward. But I noticed as I continued to lose weight, my body fat percentage wasn't changing on Eufy scale once I got down to 18% or so. And then it would fluctuate between 18 and 19%, kind of randomly throughout the week. I'd be at 18.1% at the start of the week and then 19.1% by the end of the week. And it would go up every day and then start the cycle over again, go down to 18.1%. And I noticed my visceral fat, it was measuring my visceral fat, and it never changed. It had been at 11 from the moment I got it. So for 2 years, despite me losing weight and my body composition changing, the visceral fat stayed the same at 11. And so for the last few months, I had been looking in scales, and there are a few that sounded really promising, but I just couldn't see myself spending $300, $400 for a scale, especially scales that didn't have Wi-Fi connectivity. Um, I don't like the aspect of having to open an app and connect to Bluetooth every time that I want to do a weigh-in. One thing about the Eufy and the Withings is that they connected automatically to my Wi-Fi, updated my metrics into the server of the scale, and then automatically downloaded it to my app so I can see it in real time. So, the Hume scale, one big turnoff about that one, besides the review that said it was widely inaccurate. Oh, and the inaccuracy, it said it could widely exaggerate the metrics by 40% or more. Um, so apart from that, it didn't have Wi-Fi connectivity. It has Bluetooth only. So I've seen that with a lot of scales, but the ones that have Wi-Fi connectivity were like $400, $500, and I didn't want to spend that kind of money. So I've seen a lot of people doing comparisons of um, are doing reviews on the RENPHO Morphoscan Nova scale. So um, it was between that and Uxaline, I think it was med scale, which is about $180. So I ended up going with the RENPHO because I've seen a lot of positive reviews for it. So I compared it to how my Eufy scale was going, and the numbers were really interesting. And one thing I like about the RENPHO is it gives you a lot of metrics. And Some of it's very useful and meaningful, but a lot of it's just noise. So they can say that they give you 50 or so different metrics. But let's look at the comparison of the Eufy P3 Smart Scale, which I've had for 2 years, and the RENPHO, which I've been putting through the paces for about a week now. So as you can see, this is taken this morning, July 1st. I think the weight has been pretty spot on between the two. I think this is the widest variance that they've had, and it was just a 0.3 pound difference. The RENPHO was a little bit higher, which you know what changed my BMI number. So my BMI for on the Eufy because of the weight was 25, which is listed as standard, and the BMI on the RENPHO was 25.1. So just a point higher, point one higher. Now the body fat percentage, that's where it really showed a difference. Like I said, the Eufy was had my body fat percentage between 18 and 19%. It would change throughout the week. So I think the first time I stepped on the RENPHO scale, it said my body fat percentage was about 2.4, and it's been holding at 2.7 every day since then. So 12.7 versus 18.4. The Eufy was 5.7 percentage points higher. So that's very meaningful, especially because I was trying to get my body fat percentage down. And it let me know that I'm already where I probably want to be on my fat percentage, maybe um, get down to 11% or so, but nothing below that. And because of that difference in the body fat percentage, they also had a wide difference in the lean body mass. The Eufy had me at 159.6, and the RENPHO had me at 171 pounds. So that's a difference of 11.4 pounds in my lean body mass. And then muscle mass, the RENPHO had, or sorry, the Eufy had me at 151.6, which listed as excellent. And then my muscle mass on the RENPHO was listed at 159.6. So that's an 8 pound difference between the two scales. And then my body fat mass, 35.9 on the Eufy and 24.8 on the RENPHO, 11.1 pound difference with the Eufy being higher. And the visceral fat, this is another metric that I've been looking at. Like I said, the visceral fat had a number of 11 from the time that I got it, and it never changed. And I did stepped on the RENPHO, and it's been at 2 the entire time. And so that's a 9 point difference, which is meaningful when you're looking at getting that visceral fat around your organs down and get to a healthy number. Subcutaneous fat, 13.2 on the Eufy and 9.1 on the RENPHO, and then skeletal muscle mass, 84.8, listed as excellent on the Eufy and 99 pounds on the um, RENPHO, so a difference of 14.2 pounds. Um, so a lot of skeletal muscle mass for me. Bone mass, Eufy had me at 7.9, whereas the RENPHO has me at 11.4. So that's a 3.5 pound difference. And then there's a difference on the water rate. So so you can see big differences between the two. Um, what I really like the report that the RENPHO spits out as well. I've been seeing a lot of you share yours. Um, so I'll go over mine real quick. It has my body score at 91 out of 100 points. Um, Again, my weight is in the optimal range. And one thing I like is that it allows you to set a range for your weight goal instead of a specific number. So I have mine at a 4 pound range as well. Um, my body fat mass is standard, 24.8 pounds. My bone mass is high at 11.4. Protein mass is high, body water mass is high, muscle mass is high, skeletal muscle mass is high. Um, Again, my body fat percentage is 12.7. My body type is athletic. And as far as my segmental fat, my arms have about 1 pound each, it's listed as. And so they're the same on both sides. My trunk is where the most of my fat is. It's listed as standard. So I have about 14 pounds, 13.8 pounds of fat in my trunk, where my which is accurate as to where my fat is mostly at currently on my loose skin and all of that. Has my legs right and left in the same number on both sides, and then my muscle balance is also symmetrical between my right arm and my left arm, and my right leg and left leg have a high amount of muscle in my legs and arms and in my trunk, and um, has my BMR at 2,047 calories. Again, my visceral fat at 2, and my metabolic age at 49. So 3 years younger, according to this. Not sure how accurate that is, but and then my hip to waist ratio was 0.72. So another good number from what I know about that, what that metric means. Overall, I like it. I mean, I like it. So of course, the next thing to do was to go get a new DEXA scan to compare it to where I was last time when I did my DEXA scan 2 years ago, almost 2 years to the date when I did it. I did it July 13th of 2024. It's the last time I did it. And I've been meaning to do it, but it's a lot more costly here because we only have a DEXA fit instead of body spec. Body spec is a lot more cost effective, whereas the DEXA fit, I think it was $160 when I did it. And that's 160 when I did it the first time. They're now down to 139, whereas I think you can get the body spec um, for $49, and even cheaper if you sign up for one of the plans. And so I was kind of mad that I have to spend so much to get a DEXA scan. So I put it off for a long time, but this was a perfect time to jump back in and get the DEXA scan to see a comparison of not only where I am from 2 years ago, but how the scales compare. And let's see what it came back with. So I have a right hip replacement. So I have a metal in my right hip. So the scan doesn't read it correctly. I knew that going in, and I was able to account for that the last time I went in and do the adjustments to make my. What happens is it doesn't fully read my right leg, so my right leg is underweighted, and so the last time I had to do an adjustment to basically make my right leg and my left leg the same way. So whatever my left leg was weighted at, whatever body fat percentage it determined that it was, and how much muscle and how much fat was listed. I converted that and made it the same on the right, and that came out to almost perfectly matching my weight that I weighed in that morning on both my scales, and it matched almost to a T where the body fat percentage was for my Eufy scale at the point. So that's why I switched to the Eufy scale, because it was right on with um, the DEXA scan. But what I'm finding out is that these things aren't as accurate, especially because they're only doing the, the electrical current through the legs. And then as your body type changes, it may not capture those components as accurately as well, going from a lot of fat to a lot of lean muscle, so it doesn't track it as well. So anyway, going back to my scan. So if you look at my scan here in July of 2024, they had me listed at 23.6% body fat percentage. So they have me at 13.5% now. Had my weight at 228.6 pounds then and 194 pounds now. Come back to that in a little later. Um, Actually, we'll talk about it now. So I weighed in this morning at about 6:30. So the um, RENPHO scale had me at 195.8. The Eufy had me at 195.5. And I weighed in here at 11:30 at the DEXA Fit place, and not necessarily weighed in, but got my scan, and it had me um, almost 2 pounds lighter than either scale. And I had put fluids in my body at that point, so something wasn't right with the scan. Um, we'll get into that a little later as we go through these numbers. I think I don't think the scan was right. I think in part because of my hip. And also, I don't know if I was positioned correctly because it had my right side a lot lighter than my left side. And I'm not just talking about my leg, it had my trunk and my arm and my leg off compared to my left side. And I'm talking about way off. There was a 11-pound difference between my left and right side altogether. Um, so I probably won't be going back to get another scan anytime soon or at all, especially at $139 or more, because it didn't really tell me anything. It told me that my RENPHO scale was probably the one to move to now, of course, because the body fat percentage is a lot closer, 13.5 versus 12.7, so it's a lot closer there. So this is what I'm talking about. My um, arms, there was no difference in the weight of my arms last time, and now there's a 1.2-pound difference between my right and my left arm. My legs, they're about the same as far as the difference in weight. It was 4.8 pounds last time and 5 pounds this time. And then the total, because my trunk was off, was 11 pounds off this time, or 11 pounds off last time versus 9.1 pounds this time. And you see here, there's a difference between the 1.7-pound difference between my left and my right arm. Says my right arm is 14.2 pounds in total mass versus my left arm being at 12.5. As far as my legs, it says and this is where I was expecting it at. My legs is at my right leg is at 28.3 and my left leg is at 34.2. So in total, a difference of nearly 6 pounds. And um, my right trunk was listed at 43.1 pounds, where my left trunk was listed at 48.8. So a difference of 5.8 pounds. So I'm not putting a lot of weight into these numbers. It just gives me an idea of where I am versus where I was when I did my first DEXA scan, and also it gives me an idea of the accuracy of my rental scale. And then I had my hip to waist ratio at 1.19. Um, versus 1.55 last time that I did the scan. And then my estimated visceral adipose tissue is at 1.55 this time versus 1.82 last time. I think last time they did an actual score, a visceral fat score versus weight. Um, I have to dig that scan out. Um, I think I think the number that they had was 12 last time, if I remember the score correctly, and that's where it was a lot closer to my Eufy scale, which had me at 11 then. And then this is my overall changes from the two scans compared. in the different regions. Um, you can see my baseline. I'm down from my baseline of 2024 across the board. 7.6 in my arms, 6 in my leg, 14.7 in my trunk, 7.6 in my android, 8.5 in my gynoid, and 10.1 um, in my total. Um, so, and you can see here, you can see my hip implant right there, front and back. So that's where things stand. So I think the RENPHO is a good scale, at least for now. I'll be using it and moving the Eufy into the guest bathroom. Um, I can still use it to weigh my dog. She's on a diet now. She has to lose 2 pounds because she's a little overweight, according to the vet. So she has to get down to 9 pounds. She's at 10.8. So that'll be my doggy scale. Um, yeah, so that's where I am. So if you get opportunity, if you're looking for a scale, this is the one that I went with, the Morphoscan Nova body composition scale from RENPHO. So it has 24 body composition metrics. So far so good. The only thing that I don't like about it is it's a $200 scale. I mean, I got it on sale, so I think it was like 180. Um, but I think the regular price is like 229. So or 221 or something like that. So it's a $200 scale, and it doesn't have Wi-Fi connectivity. You have to open the app on your phone every single time that you weigh in to record your weight. Now it does store it in the memory, so you don't have to do it every single time. Like it saves 20 memories, and then we'll sync the next time you open your app to sync to your app. But if you're like me, you want that metric onto your app every single time. So I open it every single time that I weigh in now. So that's the only downfall from the scale. So far, it's doing good. It's doing good. I like it, and I would recommend it if you're in the market for a scale and looking for something that may be a little more accurate than your current body composition scale or your current, um, I guess, dumb scale is what you would call it now because you have the smart scales. So that's where I am with it. So if you have any questions, just let me know. Um,